I know it takes time till we. What was that? I read lips. It's very hard for me these days. Right. Yes. I do. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. No, you're not in trouble. Good Shabbos, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to see congregants here in our sanctuary, and I'd like to wish Shabbat Shalom to our members and friends who are watching us on live stream. And as always, before we begin, let's start with a cleansing breath. Let's let go of any of the aggravation of the past week as we welcome Shabbat. So, let's welcome Shabbat by lighting our Shabbat candles and turning to page 121. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light. So may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Kiddush is on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom tehila lemikroi kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim Kivanu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. I think we'll all really enjoy saying this prayer together on page 124. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Let's join together in Lecha Dodi on page 138. לחדודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. 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 שאמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ולשמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Let's rise now, if you are able, as we continue with Baruch on page 146. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam vaed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach sha'arim, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. Page 151. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema is on page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. Let's continue with Ve'ahavta, page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha. V'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochpecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, Vitem Kedoshim Lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher Hotzeti Etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Lihiot Lachem Lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Yam bam 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 bibi bam ya ba 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 bim bam yam bam 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 bibi bam ya ba 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 bim bam ay 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 ya ba 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 bim bam ay 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 ya ba 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 bim bam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha ne'edar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefel, nora tehilot osefel. Yam bam 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 bibi bam ya ba 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 bim bam. Yam bam 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 bibi bam ya ba 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 bim bam. Ay 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 ba 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 bim bam. Ay 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 ba 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 bim bam. We continue together on page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Let's have a lot of fun with Vishamru. It's on page 162. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Beni uven bnei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Let's rise if you're able for tefillah, page 164. Adonai sefatai titachu fi agi tehilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah. Ha'el hagadol hagibor v'hanora el elyon, gomel chasadim tovim v'koneh hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, u'mevii geula livnei bneihem lema'an shemo be'ahava, melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Page 171. Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like lightning, illumines the darkness in which we walk. Help us to see wherever we gaze that the bush burns unconsumed, and we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it. Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God, Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. And let's continue together at the top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Page 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Shalom Rav is on page 178. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. Bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם תשים לעולם תשים לעולם. Let's pause now for a moment of silent reflection. Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh 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 shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom. Let's take another cleansing breath. Let's let go of the stress of the past year and a half when we haven't been able to be together in person on Shabbat. And let's breathe for a moment. It's wonderful to be back in the sanctuary. If you weren't able to join us in person this Shabbat, perhaps you can join us next Friday night. We will be here again in the sanctuary next Shabbat as well. So I have a question to ask all of us this evening. What is the difference between a house and a home? The words on the entrance to our sanctuary say, "This is a house of prayer for all people." And yet, after this very difficult year when we haven't been able to worship in our house of prayer, being back in our temple building makes us truly feel at home. So what is the difference between a house and a home? I don't think that's a difficult concept to explain. We have 5 basic senses: touch, sight, hearing, smell, and taste. Even as we continue to struggle with the effects of the pandemic, our 5 basic senses help us transform this house of prayer into a home. Touch. Even though we are very careful with what we touch, touch is an important part of being home. It feels wonderful to touch a prayer book instead of simply looking at a screen. It feels wonderful to touch the pews of our congregation. They have been here for generations, and each one represents a family connected to our own temple family. Sight. What we see here in the sanctuary brings us joy. It's more than just seeing the Lehrman Chapel or even seeing the familiar face of your rabbi. Even though we're not hugging yet, seeing each other sitting in the pews for the first time in more than a year gives us a warm feeling inside. Whether we're here in person or seeing the congregation worship together within the temple walls on a screen at home, what we see this Shabbat makes our house a home. Hearing. Shabbat worship is more than just hearing the liturgy or hearing the music. Communal worship means hearing the sounds of Shabbat in person, a different sound than the one we hear from our virtual services. The beauty of Shabbat is expressed by the sounds of Shabbat. Even the simple sound of hearing someone we love saying Shabbat Shalom in person, rather than a greeting on a screen or from one of us trapped in a little box when we Zoom. Let's take a moment to listen to the sounds of Shabbat. Smell. The smell of our sanctuary. I know that smell so very well. It's a combination of wood, fabric, paper, people, and the smells of so many generations of those who have gone before us. It's hard to describe how the sanctuary smells, but we all know the aroma. If you haven't been here in more than a year, the smell greeted you as you entered the building. A smell like a warm coat on a cold day, a cool breeze on a hot one, or cookies right out of the oven. Speaking of cookies, the 5th of our senses is the sense of taste. I don't think that anyone here will be able to experience a sense of taste this Shabbat, but those of you who are watching us live stream can savor a taste of Shabbat. Someday soon we hope to open the social hall again so we may enjoy a taste of Shabbat, the taste of sweet wine, the wonderful challah at Motzi, the Shabbos dinner we enjoy at home. That's something we can look forward to, having something wonderful to taste on Shabbat. Someday soon, we hope. I hope to see as many of you as are able to join us for the live Shabbat services we will have in the weeks to come. We are opening the temple building slowly and carefully to make sure we are safe and sound, and we hope to be able to see all of you soon. So in the meanwhile, have a wonderful Shabbat filled with peace, with joy, and with good health. And together we say, Shabbat Shalom. Let's turn to page 371. We think of the members of our families and our community who are sick and in need of healing. We remember them in our hearts as we sing the Mishaberach prayer together. Mishaberach avotenu mekor habracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We think of those who are in need of healing with love as we say, Baruch atah Adonai rofeh hacholim. We praise you, Adonai, our God, who heals the sick, and we say, Amen. Let's rise now for Aleinu on page 586. Aleinu l'shemeach lanu nakol atekidula le'osef reshit shelo asaru kigoye haratzot v'lo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu kechol hamona v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'morim lifnei melech malchei hamlochim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Please be seated. Page 595. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more still echo within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. This Shabbat, we remember the yahrzeits of Milton M. Cohen, Saus Kulianos, Jack Fleischman, Morton A. Friedman, Jean Goldberg, Beatrice Goldsmith, Morris Hoffman, Ellen Brody Hughes, Terry Castle, Margaret Kelly, Joseph G. Levy, A.L. Nassau, Matilda Pike, Max Rubin, Ann N. Sauertag. And we remember those who have died in the year and the months since we have been together here in this sanctuary. I'm not going to recite their names out loud. We all know who they are. Members of our congregation who died because of COVID, members of our congregation who died for other reasons, those in our community who have passed away, as well as those we keep alive in our hearts. As we remember them, I ask the congregation to please rise together as the Mourner's Kaddish is recited on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'omad divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. B'galav izman kari v'yimaru amen. Yehesh shemei rabba mevorach leolam omei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei kudsha b'richu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata. The amiran v'yalma v'yimaru amen. Yehesh shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all of us who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved, and we say, Amen. And now it's Shabbat, and Shabbat is not only our day of rest, but our day of joy. And one of the gifts of the past year is learning Adon Olam in a very fast and fun way, which you've seen on our videos. Thank you, Christopher. And please join me with a rousing, joyous, and very happy Adon Olam on page 625. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefsacho Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam Be'achare Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Dora Adon Olam Vehu Haya Vehu Hove Vehu Yeh B'tifara Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Sir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefsacho Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam B'ya'ado Avkid Ruchi Be'et Tishan Ve'a'ira Adon Olam Ve'im Ruchi Geviati Adon Oli V'lo Ira Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Leit Nasa V'chefsacho Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Adon Olam. And now let me ask God's blessings on our congregation that has gathered here together, as well as our congregation that is gathered virtually. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our mothers and fathers. Thank you for this Shabbat when we are able to worship together. Thank you for keeping us healthy and whole. Thank you for the gift of Shabbat, for its joy and rest. And thank you for our lives, which are always in your keeping. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.